If I could ask you to please take your seat. Everyone's so excited coming back from round tables. This is nice. It's good to hear everybody. It's good to see everybody. Can't really see anybody with these bright lights, but you're supposed to say that, right? If everyone can come in, just take a seat. Thank you. Well, hopefully everyone enjoyed their roundtable sessions. I would love to give a round of applause to the roundtable leaders. They are truly experts in their fields, and we were privileged to have them join us today. Also want to thank you for joining us at the Social Innovation Summit here in Silicon Valley. On behalf of Landmark Ventures, on behalf of Zeev Klein, on behalf of the entire team, we really appreciate you joining us for the Social Innovation Summit, and hopefully it's been a great few days. It's been great for me because I had donuts this morning. This is nice. So I'm pretty much hyped up on 4 donuts. This is going to be the power hour. In about an hour, I'm going to crash hard. So we're going to get through some wonderful content, and maybe I'll sneak in a donut on the way there. So over the last couple of days, a handful of speakers have mentioned a need to have a conversation as a country, as a people, with each other. I think the roundtables were a good example of that, for us to come together and talk about some of these topic areas, these practical matters that we're thinking about. But more than anything, we wanted to instill and inject in the Social Innovation Summit an opportunity for everyone to act as a community and come together to hear each other, create the space for each other. And so it was really important for us to do that. Zeev mentioned yesterday to practice radical empathy. Hopefully we've done that over the last couple days. Michael Masterman from Lyft said that we need to connect with each other. Hopefully we've done that as well. With this election, I've been thinking a lot about the brilliance of creative pairs. Imagine the times throughout history when 2 people met randomly for great outcomes. Watson and Crick, Jobs and Wozniak, Oprah and Gale, Han Solo and Chewbacca. All great outcomes, right? Defeated the evil empire. I was at Amoeba Records the other day. I have to drop Amoeba to, say that I'm a local and I love California, so I'm cool. So I was at Amoeba Records the other day, and I came across this little-known band. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're from Liverpool. They're called the Beatles. It was way back in the back section of Rare Records. So I came across them, and I was thinking a little more about John Lennon and Paul McCartney, and how the brilliance of a creative pair really manifested itself through them. They had a certain genius as partners. When John Lennon wrote Strawberry Fields Forever about a children's area in Liverpool, a big, expansive grounds, he shared it with Paul, and Paul then responded with Penny Lane about a roundabout in Liverpool that's also a popular meeting place. It's interesting to see those 2 songs aligned so closely together as we think about the brilliance of creative pairs, because they tended to answer each other's songs, not only in a competitive spirit, but because one sparked the other's brilliance. They were more creative as a pair than as individuals. And it got me to thinking, it's interesting to consider that achievement is relational. We sometimes think that we see the lone genius or someone, the lone wolf entrepreneur, but I think we see more and more that achievement is very much relational. Cynthia Lennon, John's first wife, said, John needed Paul's attention to detail and persistence. Paul needed John's anarchic, lateral thinking. We saw this in ancient Greece in that they thought there are 2 sides of human nature. Apollo, who represented the rational and self-disciplined, and Dionysus, or neither way, because I don't know what I'm talking about, who represented the spontaneous and emotional. Together they formed humankind, focused on breaking and making, challenging and refining, disrupting and organizing. So John Lennon was able to create because Paul McCartney came into his life serendipitously a long time ago in Liverpool. They were a mutually strengthening double helix. The magic came from the interaction, and we've seen that over the course of their 10-year career, both highs and lows. The same could be said about our country right now. Perhaps achievement is indeed relational, with both halves of the country coming together with open minds in a certain creative brilliance. As Secretary Clinton signaled in her concession speech by wearing purple, which combines both blue and red. So hopefully we can be a little aspirational as we leave the summit in terms of thinking about the brilliance of creative pairs. Here at the summit over the past 2 days, we've had many introductions and the exchanging of many business cards that could turn into brilliant creative pairs. Just by a show of hands, how many people have met someone else who they're going to follow up with, email, hopefully build a partnership with over the last 2 days? This is great. Good. My point exactly. I'm glad people raised their hand. Well, that's great because in 2017, I'm glad to announce that we are going to create and continue the conversation throughout the entire year. As you know, we've had 2 summits, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. And so now we want to have the conversation filter throughout the entire year to turn into a year-round conversation. So part of that is announcing that we're going to have one larger summit, bring East Coast and West Coast together in Chicago in June. And then to buttress that, we're going to have one-day salons throughout the year, and we're going to have dinners throughout the year. We're going to do something at CES throughout the year. So what you've known as the summit in terms of a DC summit or a New York summit and then a Silicon Valley summit, we're now going to expand that conversation because I think a lot of these topics are very important 365 days a year, not just 4 days throughout the year that we all come together in this room. So we're going to expand that conversation over 4 or 5 different events so that we can think of it more as a platform or a series of conversations with all of our friends and partners who we've met today, who we've met previously, and so that's a big announcement for next year. We're really happy about that. But today, we focus on the brilliance of creative pairs by talking about our shared future. First, I want to introduce Sam Polk, co-founder and CEO of Everytable. I was looking at some information for him, and on his website I found this really intriguing, and I'm sure he's going to talk about this, but I just thought this was a great pull-out quote from, I think, his book. At just 30 years old, I was a senior trader for one of the biggest hedge funds on Wall Street, on the verge of making it to the very top. All too soon, I knew I had lost myself in an obsessive pursuit of money. I came to loathe the culture, the shallowness, the sexism, the crude machismo, the Wall Street's use of wealth as a sole measure of a person's worth. I decided to walk away from it all, but that was only the start of my journey. So we'll hear from Sam Polk and understand his journey a little more.